Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and happy Friday, everyone, or as some like to say, happy Friday in other terms. But thank you so much for joining me here this morning. So we've got a few topics to cover this morning. I definitely want to talk about what's going on in DC because there's a lot of, I guess, mixed reviews or emotions, if that makes sense. It's one thing when you hear the media's perspective, and then it's another thing when you actually talk to people locally, and their perspectives may be different as well. So I want to get into the first video, which is Cash Jordan. He's a YouTuber, and definitely check out his YouTube page. He always has really great content and always sharing information that's, very current and very relevant. So let's check him out first.
And some of these neighborhoods were not ready.
I don't listen. Why? My car's on though. Hold on, bro.
He says his car's running.
None of that. My car's on. I was about to leave. He said I could leave. All that.
Oh.
Listen, all that secure vid. Go ahead, bro. Y'all niggas think y'all can do whatever y'all want. I don't give a about that badge. I'm a personal trainer.
These criminals are out of control.
What they took. Instead, they just trashed the place, as this video obtained by our news partner WTOP shows. We asked the couple what they think of President Trump's plan to federalize city police and deploy more officers and the National Guard.
I'm telling Trump, just send the boys to been around because this is crazy. And then you see Dollar Tree closing, CVS closed down, 7-Eleven closed down. We trying to put a store in your community, then you do this.
This is the CVS she mentioned that closed. At the next closest one on H Street, you can't even so much as buy a $2 bottle of soap without asking an employee to unlock the display case.
The city keeps saying crime is down, but do you feel safe?
No, I don't think so. Crime is down. Crime is off.
In D.C.? Who told that lie?
These neighbors aren't stupid. They know what's going on here. But take a look at how one activist assaulted officers the other day.
Accused of attacking a federal officer with a foot-long Subway sandwich, similar to this one right here at 14th and U this past weekend.
Oh, that was floppy. It looks like a meatball
and
sub.
It's all caught on camera.
You see these fascists? Right here.
Fascists.
You.
Take a look at this cell phone video from late Sunday night. 37-year-old Sean Dunn, shown in the pink shirt and shorts, allegedly yelling at federal officers on 14th Street in D.C.
Y'all laughing, but that's the truth.
Moments later, video appearing to show him crossing the street, screaming just inches from a U.S. Customs and Border Protection officer's face.
Let's go get him,
Stupid. And then appearing to hit the officer in the chest with a foot-long Subway sandwich. Officers immediately chasing Dunn in the street and eventually catch and arrest him. These federal officers are assisting D.C. police after President Trump placed MPD under federal control.
This is ridiculous.
In an ex-post, D.C. U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro announcing the arrest.
And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny.
The poor sandwich.
He doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony. Assault on a police officer.
With a sandwich.
And we're going to back the police to the hilt.
According to the criminal complaint, Dunn allegedly told police, "I did it. I threw a sandwich."
And he admitted
People reacting to the arrest.
It's disrespectful for the police officers.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
That.
No, I don't like that.
Nobody likes that.
I'm disgusted.
That's right.
With the situation.
Why?
Okay.
He's
Now I want to pause the video right there because I actually found out a little bit more information on this individual, Sean Dunn. Okay. And apparently, Sean Charles Dunn, he's 37. He was arrested for allegedly throwing a Subway sandwich at a federal Customs Border Protection officer. Now, even though we saw it, and a lot of people say, why do you have to use the word allegedly? You have to use the word allegedly because he has not been formally charged, right? They have him in custody. They are in the process of charging him. But as far as like how long it's going to be, sentencing, like after all that process is done and over, and it's like, yes, you were found guilty of doing this, then we can say we don't have to use the word allegedly. But until that process follows through, we have to use allegedly. Okay. It's a legal thing and keeps you out of trouble. Just saying. For throwing a Subway sandwich at a federal Customs and Border Protections officer in Washington, D.C., was employed, past tense, by the Department of Justice. He worked as a trial attorney in the Office of International Affairs within the DOJ's criminal division. So this person literally verbally assaults police officers, throws a sandwich at them as if he can't be caught. Like, what's wrong with you? You're an attorney. Like, you're an officer of the court. What is wrong with you? That's why I say it the way what is wrong with, are you okay? April Showers, I love hearing her in the morning. Are you okay? Are you all right? Do we need to do a well check? What is going on when we have officers of the court blatantly disrespecting the law? What is wrong with you? Like, you need to be completely disbarred and never allowed to work as an attorney again. You need just period. Stay away from legal stuff. Because obviously you don't respect the law. You did this for money. You don't have any respect for the law. So it says, after video of the incident surfaced, he was charged with felony assault. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed he had been fired, stating, "I just learned that this defendant worked at the Department of Justice. No longer. Not only is he fired, he has been charged with a felony." So it's not a misdemeanor, it's a felony. Okay. And that's the charge, right? But we have to get to, fully sentencing and all that. So that's why we use allegedly. So Dunn reportedly confessed to investigators, saying, "I did it. I threw a sandwich." But what is wrong with you? Like, why are you throwing food at people, especially at an officer, and accosting them? Shame, and all this stuff. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with you? These individuals that are on the street are actually there to just be, to me, they're more so security, right? So the police can actually operate so they're not spread so thin, so they can actually do policing, right? But you've got the National Guard there to basically make sure things are okay. And this was a Customs and Border Protection officer. This wasn't even the National Guard. It wasn't the National Guard. It wasn't ICE. It was a border protection officer. So I'm like, I don't even know if the border protection officer was on duty or if they were mainly there because, there are people that are here illegally in DC, right? So they are still protecting the border, even in DC, away from border states like, New Mexico and Texas and Arizona. I'm like, wow. And you work in international affairs for the DOJ. Was it worth it? I'm just saying, was it worth it? Because now you could lose your bar license. He could lose it, period. I mean, he could try to get it again, but yeah, he could be done as an attorney anywhere unless he works independently. I mean, this is very scary when you have an officer of the court acting out in such a manner. To me, that means the sludge of the Smith-Month Modernization Act is working. It's working. I showed a video yesterday where it talked about how AI was looking to control and dismantle and make people dependent on technology and make people subservient, right? So that people could just be lied to with impunity and ad nauseum, not question the world around them and literally be corralled. And seeing this individual, that's what this individual looked like. It didn't look like someone who had respect for authority, was really in their right frame of mind. They just seemed like a person who had been brainwashed by the media, who didn't question, well, why are the border protection officers there. You should know you work for the DOJ. What is wrong with you? And you're just going to attack them like nothing's going to happen to you? Yeah. Yeah, we live in a different world. It's called, consequences. Just saying.
That's
you
right.
You don't get hurt. There's no reason to get a felony because he's wearing a uniform.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that people with real world experience are the ones in favor of this crime crackdown.
Get off our streets! Get off our streets! Get off our streets!
More breaking news back in the district. New video into the Fox 5 newsroom tonight showing increasing tensions between D.C. residents and federal officers now patrolling the streets in Trump's D.C. takeover.
Why are these people mad? Look at their city.
There's a group of about 5 tents on one side and 5 on the other. And people camped here around Washington Circle tell me they got notices to vacate on the 29th. Now, take a look at some of these other encampments that we've talked about, especially near the I-66 ramp and Foggy Bottom and Rock Creek Parkway.
They're getting evicted.
On the way to the Kennedy Center. Now, these have been cleared in the past, but people tend to always kind of come back. The White House says people living in the camps will face fines or jail time if they don't move or enter treatment. The city has been engaged with unhoused residents prior to camp clearing. We spoke to some living here and those who know them.
If you're not helping, then don't hurt.
Yeah, that never works.
If you're not trying to give people apartments or help their situation out even better, but sending them to a shelter and throwing all their stuff away or giving an option of going to jail, I just think it's evil.
You know what's really evil? Letting somebody live in a park, exposed to the elements, thinking that's their best option in life.
This is shaping up to be a pretty difficult week for people who are struggling with housing in our nation's capital. What you're seeing right behind me is a
look at this, they leveled it.
Pulling away personal belongings of this encampment. Wow. There are tables in there. There are appliances in there.
Appliances?
There's a bed. There looks
That's like a fire hazard.
A gas-powered heater in there. We are just steps away from the Kennedy Center.
A gas heater.
And, while it isn't out of the ordinary for local D.C. government officials to clean up certain encampment areas, I think it goes without saying that President Trump has made it clear with his rhetoric lately.
Yeah. Look, that's an e-bike right there. You know how many fire hazards are out there in this park? If they don't get rid of this place, the whole Capitol could burn to the ground.
Homelessness across D.C. on federal land or on city land taken care of. Going so far to say
everyone should want that.
People who are homeless should be sent far away from the Capitol. Let me show you guys where we are right now. This is
land
tent is
very
close to the Lincoln Memorial.
There was a tent
right
here
across
that's
the
gone.
Street is the Institute of Peace. And what you're looking at are
look, no grass grew here all summer. That's how long that tent was there. It's probably been there for years.
Tents were this morning. Many of them have been packed up, and one of the reasons why they're being packed up is because last night at around 10 o'clock
a yoga mat.
A lot of these tents were posted. A flyer was posted to these tents.
Eviction notices.
The people who live here, some of them who have lived here for several months.
Several months. Wonderful.
They have to go. And that everything is going to be cleared at 10 o'clock today. And you can see that is slowly happening. I will say people have been voluntarily packing up and cleaning, but I want to show you what has been going up on some of the tents at these homeless encampments around the city. So this is a scheduled encampment cleanup, which includes...
How is this inhumane? People have been given notice that the law will now be enforced. That's what this is. It's already illegal to live in a tent with a whole bunch of fire hazards surrounding you in a public park. All this says is, hey, guess what, guys? Law and order's back. And they're offering to help people.
Position and the site closure. So people were warned, not with a lot of time, that they have to pack up their belongings and move. And
this has been illegal the whole time
DC
people have been here.
Officials and the White House that...
Yeah. And to Cash's point, it is illegal. You cannot just camp in a park. Like, just say if there's a jazz festival or something and you're putting up a tent because you want a little bit of the shelter, shade, whatever. That's fine, because those are going to be taken down within a few hours. These people were literally camping in the park that you can't camp in for months, right? Because of the local policies. And nobody's really talking about that. That's the scary part. So, Sway Me, thank you so much for reposting the stream and joining us this morning. And Dr. C says, greetings, founder. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you as well. And thank you so much for reposting the stream. But it's very sad. But at the same time, why has this been going on for so long? A lot of the major cities, and we went over this earlier this week, are run by melanated individuals, because I'm not going to say everybody is a Black American, because they may not be. Their lineage may not be here. They may have gotten here after 1965, right? So if they did, if their families did, they did. They're just not foundational to the soil. They're not lineage based. We'll say it that way. And these individuals are running these large cities, and they're making it seem like crime is okay. Crime is never okay. And it is not okay for this homeless situation. This should never be here. But Mayor Bowser is acting like, oh, everything's fine. We're doing great. No, you're not. You've got people living literally in the park. That's not a thing. And it should never have been. But this is Trump having to put his foot down in DC and everywhere else, because these governors and these mayors are just acting like nothing to see here. We're doing fine. No, we're not. But now that somebody has stepped in and said, okay, clean up your act, you're like, oh my gosh, he's so horrible. No, he's not. Y'all should have been had this done. You cry and say, we want better representation. You get the job, and then you suck at your job. Yeah, I said it. You suck at your job. Like, do your job. And we'll get to Westmore in a minute, because in Maryland, they need to cut their grass along the interstate, by the way. Oh my goodness. And Trump, if you're listening, you need to cut the grass. Okay. You need to get out your Department of Transportation. People need to cut the grass. It's beautiful. I mean, it's green. I'm great. Love it. Love the green. You need to cut the grass, because it's disgraceful. I'm going to just post some pictures, because my husband and I are going to be traveling up there, up that way. Please, while we are on, let's make everything beautiful, because I'm with it. Cut the grass. We need to make demands on that. Let's get back to the video.
Shelters will be offered. Mental health services will be offered. Services will be offered. I shot some video a couple moments ago, again, showing people
that's what we're all
slowly
told people
and voluntarily
need, and they're
leaving
getting it.
this area. And it's a striking scene, to see people packing up their belongings in shopping carts. And we were able to speak to one gentleman, David, who's 67 years old. He's lived at this spot for the past 7 to 8 months. And I just asked him, how do you feel about the president's comments, ramping up his rhetoric, targeting folks who are homeless? Here's what he said. Take a listen.
Well, I look at it as anti-Christian.
Anti-Christian.
I remember the passage of, as you have done unto the least of these, you have done unto me.
Oh my goodness.
And the idea that
don't use Jesus as an excuse to break the law.
And persecuting us.
What about when the Bible says obey the government? What about that? They love Jesus when it's time to demonize others. I love how that works.
Who came out today, like this woman holding a sign saying being unhoused is not a crime. Some people have signs with scripture from the Bible. And I will say, although this encampment only had about a dozen or so.
Washington, D.C. hasn't been to church in decades, and now these people come out and they think this is their way to turn the tide of public opinion.
The turnout here has been well into the dozens. I mean, dozens of people from local nonprofits, from local church groups coming to assist in any way they can.
It's a countrywide uprising.
As folks who are struggling with housing in D.C. slowly pack up. A lot of confusion as to where people are going.
You know what? None of these activists, none of them are going to move these homeless people into their own homes. They say they care about them. They say nobody's going to help them. Yet they're not moving these people into their basement. Nope, not doing it. But we've also got a massive crime problem going on here, specifically with quote-unquote young people. Look at this. Mobs of people.
I've heard about the big gatherings of all the youth and them, causing trouble I mean, it's the groups, a lot of kids out together. Like, we be trying to enjoy our summer too and just go outside, have a good time. But then there is some youth who like, because there is gangs, some people, some kids are a part of certain gangs, and they might see like a different person they don't like, so they try to like go do something about it.
That's one of the reasons 16-year-old Tristan Hedspeth says is leading to potential altercations between young people. And videos like this showing groups of young people running through Navy Yard, the Wharf, and other parts of D.C.
And that's when the drama start, and that cause problems. If the youth putting it out there that we are so bad and that we just cause so much drama, then that's what they gonna think.
The group says a lack of alternative activities is a contributing factor to the large gatherings.
Well, most of the stuff be for adults. It's just not stuff that everybody wants to do. Like, it's not.
So they're saying that there are a lack of alternative forms of entertainment for people, and that's why they join gangs. They're wrong. People join gangs and commit crime because there is a lack of consequences for that type of behavior. But you can't blame these kids. They've been taught that consequences don't matter.
The 4 D.C. high schoolers shared their concerns since the onset of the youth curfew for those 17 and under.
I feel bad for them.
A decision that some in this group says didn't consider young people who make an effort to stay out of trouble.
When kids go out and then with the whole curfew thing, they just shut everything down, even when it's not a curfew. So I feel like they take their power, like their
juvenile curfew,
to a different level.
They're minding their business, they're having fun, they're with their own friends, they're not causing any problems.
The young people shared their issues with President Trump's plan to federalize D.C. police and mobilize the National Guard.
So now young people
and the
are
potential impact on their mental health. They say they've already started seeing more federal agents and officers on the street.
That's a good thing.
A lot of people are getting stopped, around the metro for acting suspicious. So people are always concerned about like how they present to the outer world.
Well, just don't commit a crime in front of police, and the police aren't going to want to talk to you about anything. It's very simple.
From what I've seen, they're only putting more officers and security on the streets because of the youth that they feel like is causing trouble. And so then I feel like, they're just going to see me as just another young black kid who may be trying to cause trouble.
No, that's not it. We just saw somebody get arrested for causing all kinds of trouble, and they were the only ones getting arrested in one particular part of town. So you have to commit a crime to end yourself up in the back of a police car. That's how this works. And you know what? For the first time in a long time, people are finally ending up in the back of police cars in a city that has failed to have any consequences for lawless behavior and has allowed itself to just implode to new low levels. And now we're way down here. And this is the capital of America. This is a national embarrassment, and it's sad. But hey, this is where progressive policies took this city. This is where they're taking other cities right now. What do you think? Cities in New York? Cities in California? Are these cities going to be next for this type of crackdown? Should they be next? And what's going to happen after 30 days in DC? Do you think all the criminals are going to come back? Let me know. See you in the next video.
Yeah. And the good thing is that these cities, those cities that he mentioned, like New York and California, they are next. Because, see, there is a executive order that Donald Trump set down, just saying, and it is targeting vagrancy, which is homelessness, because being a vagrant just basically means you have decided you're going to stay in one area. You're going to kind of, I don't want to say set up shop, but you're just not leaving. You are in a place and in a particular location that does not necessarily have a home. You don't live there, but you're in that general area location and you're hanging out, basically. And it is a crime to be a vagrant. But see, somewhere along the line, vagrancy went to homelessness, and then we made homelessness okay, and then people started making money off of homelessness. And a lot of these liberals, in my opinion, are mad because, hey, the gravy train is stopping. It's being shut down because there's no longer going to be any vagrancy because it's going to be against the law. So that means all these policies that people are trying to write for homelessness, it's gone. This is why some people are going to be really upset and mad. I'm just saying. I'm here for it. And I'm glad that they're going to have to, be forced to actually do something about what's going on. It's forcing the hand. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I got like 2 more videos for you guys, and then we're going to get into all sides, but you got to check this out. I mean, it's definitely worth it. And this was actually a suggestion by Coach T. So thank you, Coach T, for sending this video.
President Trump formally announcing his plans to make Washington, D.C. safe again.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back and placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
And one Democrat is wanting her party to get on board or risk losing public trust. Joining me now, former White House Press Office Chief of Staff, Yemisi Egbawale. Yemisi, thanks so much for joining the program.
Good to be here, Lawrence.
So tell me what you mean by that. You know, I've been covering the crime crisis in D.C., Baltimore, and a lot of areas in the country. And when they hear the stats being told, a lot of people tell me it just doesn't paint the full picture. How do you see it?
Well, I think we have to be willing to say the quiet part out loud. And I think as Democrats, it's facing uncomfortable conversations about crime. Look, no one wants to put kids in jail or lock them away for life. But when we ignore a problem, we allow it to fester. And we don't target what the issue, what the founding issue of the problem is. And I believe for D.C., a lot of that has to do with our youth and with education. I mean, D.C. for 2022 to 2023 had about 40% of kids that faced chronic absentee. So that means they missed 10% or more of the school year. Well, where are those kids when they're not in school? They're outside causing a little bit of chaos. They're raiding grocery stores, drug stores. They're putting entire sections of the city under curfew. And the fact of the matter is the president is addressing something that is very real. We can live in this city and say it's a beautiful city, and we can also say that we have a chronic issue when it comes to our youth.
Yemisi, this is what some of the residents in Washington, D.C. said. Watch.
I think it frankly doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't trust that anything he put in place would improve safety.
Right now, we're not safe. Kids and the teenagers doing everything.
When he says safety, when he's talking about federalizing it, what he really means is cracking down on the residents of the city.
The city is getting dangerous. So if we don't protect each other and we don't have police out there protecting us, then it could be a problem.
You know, Yemisi, as you can see from the footage, there's a clear generational difference. You see the elders in that video saying it's out of control. And you're seeing the young people say it's not going to work. I don't see any problem at all.
Well, I can see how the young folks might feel a little bit apprehensive because of who the messenger is, President Trump. But Lawrence, I mean, I'm sure you know this as well. When we were kids growing up, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., those were adult hours. And now when you go outside in this city, I see adults, but I also see a lot of children. And so we have to tackle what's happening in their homes. Because guess what? These kids live in neighborhoods with other kids who want to succeed. When we ignore public safety, we reduce opportunity for a lot of these young children. And I think we do a disservice to these vulnerable communities when we aren't willing to have these conversations.
Yemisi, you are so right. It was be home before the street lights are on. Every single night. Exactly. I want to get your comments on this other topic. Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani launches his anti-Trump tour, promising to be the administration's worst nightmare if elected. This is what he had to say. Let's watch it.
There is no borough that will be free from Trump's cruelty. Donald Trump does not respond well to cowardice, to collaboration. He requires a response that showcases the ability to fight back against that same agenda. And that's what I would do if and when he makes these kinds of threats with regards to New York City. I describe my administration as being his worst nightmare. I describe it as such because we will actually fight for the people that he claimed to be running to represent.
Is this the right campaign strategy for him right now? Make it him versus Trump and kind of discount the other people that are in the race?
Look, I want to caution Democrats. I think Zoran can run a kind of anti-Trump campaign because he exists in New York City, and the boroughs have made it very clear that they are deep blue. If you exist in rural districts, suburban, swingier districts, do not do this approach. You need to do something that's more holistic about the policy issues. It's going to be interesting to see if Zoran can tie affordability into Trump and how he plays that in the boroughs, but I want Democrats to make sure that we keep our message local. And so pay attention to your constituents, pay attention to your districts.
I feel like I say this every time you're on. Why don't they just hire you? Maybe they can win some things if they hire you. You can still be a Democrat and be reasonable. Yemisi, thanks so much for joining the program.
Always a pleasure.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian.
Yeah, and I really was appreciative of her take, right? Because he was just like, yeah, you can be a Democrat and be reasonable. You don't have to be so far one way or the other like Zoran Mamdani is being and alienate other voters. And that's exactly what she was saying. It's like, I find it hilarious that a lot of these politicians in New York that are running as Democrats are like, yeah, we have to run an anti-Trump campaign because, if Trump is for it, we're completely against it. It's like, sir, you do realize you live in an open air prison. Like, let's just say the quiet part out loud. It's an open air prison. Prison being the operative word. And the asylum patients are now running the city, period. They run the town. You're talking about fighting against ICE? Really? You're talking about fighting against a federal agency because they're being directed by Trump to remove people that already have deportation orders and should be off the soil, that lost their refugee status, that do no longer have temporary protected status, but you want to champion those people, but you don't want to fight for the citizens, right? That are actually living there, that are paying taxes, that are being law-abiding. You rather take care of criminals. I mean, this is just a mess. It's a whole mess. And we've got news, facts, and comments. It says, salute founder and Grand Rising. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News from YouTube. So we do have feeds that come in from YouTube and X. For some reason, I think it's a whole thing with Facebook that I got to log in. And I think it's like friends only that can really see what's going on over there. I'll figure it out. I don't know if I've got to promote or run ads or whatever I need to do so people on Facebook can actually see the program. But yeah, like I said, the anti-Trump campaigning, it's getting old. It's getting old. It's getting tired. People are sick of it. And it's like, what are you actually going to do for the citizens? He wants to put in these public grocery stores, and it was a failure in Missouri. Huge failure. Because it's not based on competition. It's not based in reality. You've got multimillionaires leaving New York City, by the way. Who are you going to tax? Because you said you're going to tax the rich, right? To give to the poor. But here you are, Mr. Mayor, or running for mayor. Your family, they are millionaires. You do have a 6-figure salary. You're doing well. You're not poor. You're not fighting for people who are average. And this is what people are seeing now. Yeah, Democrats, and there are Republicans that are elitist. And they have to control the masses. Again, I'm going back to the whole thing that we talked about yesterday with AI. They talked about submission and control and dominance. And making sure that they are leading the conversation. Because as you even saw in that video, talking to different people, like the one lady, you could tell she was younger. She might be liberal. She was like, oh, there's no crime. But then the older women were like, oh, this is crazy. Yeah, we're okay with the National Guard being here because we want to be safe. You've got the children, that Cash showed in his video. And they're just like, we don't have anything to do. Yeah, idle minds is the devil's playground. If these children don't have anything constructive, they're going to act out in erratic behavior and do mischievous things. That is why they need something to do. Where are the parents, by the way? Are these people being raised by wolves? Just saying. Just checking for a friend. Somebody had you. You have mothers and fathers. Even if they're not in the same home, you still have parents. Okay? And with these kids just running around taking over the city, I'm like, nah. There needs to be better control. There needs to be better control. Now, this next video, it's got Wes Moore, and he is the governor of Maryland. And again, we're talking about cutting the grass, y'all. Yes, cutting the grass. That's my issue because I have to drive through there. I need the Department of Transportation to hear me. You get billions of dollars to cut the grass. I just need to see it. I just need to see the lawn care happening.
To the program. Good morning, Governor. Thanks so much for joining the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, Governor, I'm so glad you decided to come on the program. I know you care about your community, and I care about mine as well. And I'm hoping that we can get to some resolutions on how we can come together to make this happen. I want to bring you to one of your cities in your state, and you're a neighbor to Washington, D.C., and we know the actions that the president is taking right now. When you look at the numbers right now, the most dangerous cities list, Baltimore is on number 4 of that. And when it comes to the murders, it's number 3. Now, I know you have been surging.
Okay, I have to stop it right there. So Memphis is number 1. And I want to say, Judge Joe Brown, he's explained that. He was like, Memphis is off the charts. You got Oakland, California. You got St. Louis, Missouri. You got Baltimore, Maryland. And you've got Detroit, Michigan. They are the top 5. But to hear Democrats talk about, they're like, nothing to see here. We're doing great. No, you're not. You're not. And you know what? I'm okay if you don't get reelected. I'm okay with that because obviously you can't take care of your states nor your cities. Now, Baltimore is number 4 on this list, and I want you to just hear Wes Moore and his, in my opinion, they're not excuses, but his, wow, how should I say it? His intentional banter. I'll say that. Intentional banter of how to really make it look like nothing to see here, and we're working on it, and it's getting better. How you the top 4 and it's getting better? Just saying.
Resources to Baltimore, investing in the police there. But you don't like the actions that the president is taking right now. Why?
Well, you know, when I came in, I said that the number 1 priority that we had as administration was to make sure that our communities were safe. You know, before I became governor, for the 8 years before I became the governor, Baltimore City went 8 straight years of 300 plus homicides. The year before I became the governor, Baltimore City averaged about a homicide a day. And I said, I refuse to be a governor who's going to spend my time offering eulogies and giving thoughts and prayers, that we actually had need to have resources and coordination that was going to help to fundamentally address the problem. As people of my state have learned, you know, I don't come from a political background, eulogies and giving thoughts and prayers.
To take that back just a little bit, just to freeze frame this. So top homicide rates across the U.S., and this is per 100,000 residents. So in New Orleans, we've got 34. In Memphis, we've got 38. In St. Louis, we've got, that looks like, sorry, y'all, I'm kind of not legally blind, but that looks like 52 in St. Louis. It might be 32. 32 in Detroit and 35 in Baltimore. So it's like, dude, yeah, you're running behind Missouri, but you're up there. And this is per 100,000 residents. Like I said, you just have to listen to his intentional delivery.
That we actually had need to have resources and coordination that was going to help to fundamentally address the problem. As people of my state have learned, you know, I don't come from a political background. My background is I'm a soldier. And so what we did was we made historic investments in local law enforcement, that we invested over $50 million in the Baltimore City Police Department alone, that we made historic investments in technologies and predictive analytics, and saying if someone commits a violent crime, particularly with a firearm, I want them in handcuffs in 24 hours. And saying that we made historic investments in our community groups, working with the mayor, working with our county executives, working with the community groups and our violence intervention and violence interruption groups to making sure we can stop crime before it happens and making sure we don't have this retaliatory cycle of violence. And while I know that we still have more work to do, I also know this, is that despite the fact that the year before I became the governor, Baltimore City, again, had a historic streak in violence, that now that the last time the homicide rate was this low in Baltimore City, I was not born yet. So we're making real progress where Maryland is now amongst the fastest dropping states in this country on violent crime. There's ways you can do this, and you have to be able to make sure you're using the right tool to get to the right result.
You know, Mr. Governor, you're right, y'all have made progress, but there's still some issues there. And this is a resident, and this is what they said in the Baltimore Sun. A 77-year-old woman from Curtis Bay who asked to remain anonymous due to threat levels she's received from drug dealers on her block compared the morning drug traffic to a fast food drive-thru. When a real estate agent assessed her property about a month ago and a half, she said that the agent told her he can't sell this house with that, referring to the 10 or 12 people involved in the drug market, loitering across the street. I'm going to get hurt one day. I know I am, she said. But the mayor responded this way, Governor.
I'm sure you read the article in the Baltimore Sun yesterday talking about how so many Baltimore residents don't recognize their neighborhoods anymore. What do you say to those residents of Baltimore who may think that citing falling crime statistics glosses over some of the harsher day-to-day realities and needs that they have to their lives in Baltimore, need for things to change even further in terms of just regular drug trafficking?
Yeah, so we're only having that discussion because the president is having that discussion. And this, I want to be very clear. I didn't read the Baltimore Sun article. I don't read it because they're a part of the president's propaganda machine.
So, Mr. Governor, I know people go back and forth in the politics and Donald Trump.
Wait a minute. He's saying it's propaganda. But did you at least try to go out? Like, he just completely disregarded it altogether. It's like, sir, you've got a problem in your city. At least investigate, right? To prove the newspaper wrong, right? That's all I'm saying. At least do the due diligence. He's just blowing it off. And that's the problem, because it's like Trump man bad. Because guess what? Trump's not going to be in office forever. So what excuses are you going to have now? If your states and your cities are still trash after he's gone, what will be the excuse then? Who are you going to blame it on? No one. You can't blame it on anyone. And if you try to say, well, the Trump policies, he's not here anymore when he's gone. I'm just saying, like, they have gotten so Trump man bad that they want to almost blame Trump for the situation that their city is in, and they're not doing anything about it. That mayor was basically sitting there like, whatever. That's propaganda. Your city is trash. Trash. Okay? Top 4 in the country for crime. Out of all 50 states? Out of all the cities? Yours in the top 4? Come on now.
And all this, but this is what the locals are saying. This is not some partisan thing.
Well, I mean, my heart breaks for that woman in Curtis Bay. And it breaks for anyone who does not feel safe in their own neighborhoods and in their own communities anywhere in the state of Maryland. And I think the people of the state of Maryland know and have seen through our actions that the #1 priority that we have is making sure that people can feel safe in their own neighborhoods, in their own communities, and in their own skin. That we're making sure that people who commit crimes, that they are held accountable for the crimes that they commit, but also that we're improving better systems that are making sure that they are also accountable to actually focusing on rehabilitation and helping people get back into the community with a real pathway for long-term success. And so whether it's a person in Curtis Bay or whether it's a person in Catonsville, they know that their governor is prioritizing their safety.
Pardon my interruption, Governor, but the people of D.C. feel the same way. The people of Philly feel the same way. I'm just curious why you've been so critical of the administration trying to solve this problem. Is it the process that you don't like? Because it looks like they're doing the same thing that you're doing, which is surging resources to the city.
It's because I'm proud to be the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland, and I'm honored to be the commander-in-chief of the Maryland National Guard. I stand with the remarkable men and women who have raised their hand, these citizen soldiers, who frankly are trained to fight and win our nation's wars. The people who, in times of emergency and in times of crisis, that I have the unique authority and the unique ability to mobilize them, and where I have done so as the governor of the state of Maryland, whether it is historic floods that we've seen in Western Maryland, or whether it's the fact that I still currently, right now, have men and women who are deployed overseas doing operations. This is something that I take very seriously, particularly as someone who's worn the uniform, particularly as someone who's had to say goodbye to my family, particularly as someone who has had to trust the judgment of the commander-in-chief, knowing that the decision that they made was one that had not just the best interests of the national security in mind, but the best interests of me and my family. And so all I'm saying is this, is if we want to have a serious conversation about violent crime, we can have a serious conversation about violent crime. And I would love to be able to share the multitude of things that we are doing in the state of Maryland, where we are surging support for local law enforcement, surging support for predictive analytics and technologies, surging supports for community groups, and allowing more supports for the mayor.
Okay, he talks about this surging support. It's not making a difference, bro. You're still in the top 4. Sorry. I know this was a whole dumpster fire before you got there, but surging support and getting results are 2 different things. Okay, you're throwing money at a problem that's not getting solved. They were throwing money at this problem and it's not getting solved because you're really not trying to solve the crime problem, because crime pays. I don't care what you say. If these mayors and these governors are not really going after crime, they are getting paid by the crime. I do not care. I put Governor Kemp on the same thing. Okay. We are one of the top states for human trafficking. You know how much they invest to basically alert the state about human trafficking? It's less than $150,000 that they put into basically commercial ads. And, the little voices you hear at the airport about human trafficking. If you see something, say something. It is a $150 billion business, and at least half of it flows through our airport. There's nothing being done about it because they're getting paid by it. No, you're not off the hook for it. It should be 0 if you are actually getting your job done, but you're not. So when I hear Westmore do this, we're sending support. We're sending support. No, you're not. You're not getting results, sir. And especially being in the military, you need results. Yeah, he might not like it, but that's okay. And Cajun Lady, thank you so much for reposting the stream. And she says, good morning to my brothers and sisters. Thank you so much, Cajun Lady. I appreciate you. I love the red, white, and blue hearts. So let's get back to Mr. Westmore. Woo! Too early in the morning to be this upset.
And the county executive and the people on the ground doing the work. And we were able to receive some really encouraging and historic results in Baltimore and around the state of Maryland. And I never once had to mobilize the National Guard in order to accomplish those feats.
Governor, it's a different war now. There's more brothers dying here in these cities than overseas. So isn't it fair to have them there? And it's Democrats that agree with this measure. Don't take my word for it. The local cop there, the police chief, agrees with this. The mayor of the city agrees with this. And it's because people that look like me and you are dying.
No one needs to explain to me the pain that is taking place in so many communities. No one needs to explain to me the pain that is taking place in so many communities, urban, rural, and suburban, who are being besieged by this issue of gun violence, who's being besieged by this issue of chronically and generationally not feeling safe inside of your neighborhoods. And it's the reason that we have made it our top priority to make sure that people are feeling safe. But I can tell you right now, what people want more than anything in those communities is they don't want performative, they want performance. Right? They're not looking for someone to walk around with military fatigues and a big gun. They're looking for someone who actually understands how to make people feel safe and how to make people actually safe in their communities. Our National Guards are not trained for this. I'm very specific about my role as Commander-in-Chief for the Maryland National Guard, and we know the missions that they are trained for, and municipal policing is not one of them.
So I'll tell you
and so
this.
if we want to be serious about making people safe, let's actually do the things that make people safe.
I'm well over time, Governor. I'll do two things. I would ask you, this is going to be only for 30 days until Congress gets involved. So let's see the results. If the results are true, then we stay with it. But I would also ask you, can I come to Baltimore with you? I want to visit the community with you. I've been there many times. We'll walk the block together, and we'll figure out all the programs that you have suggested. I would love to meet all of them. But I also want to see the metrics as well. I want the impact to be there, and I hope you'll take me up on that offer.
I would be honored to take you up on that offer. We are walking our streets all over the state all the time, and I also know that when you look at this, the cost of this National Guard deployment, we also have to understand there's a real cost to it, not just a financial cost, but also an opportunity cost, because when we have real tragedies and real disasters that our National Guard has to respond to, they're not going to be able to because they are currently doing municipal policing operations, and that's not right.
I got to go, Governor, but there's a disaster happening right now, and we got to focus on the crisis right now. All right, brother. I'll see you soon. Governor, I appreciate the time.
Yeah. And see, it's very interesting to me because obviously I forget the gentleman's name, and I've actually not met him in person, but I've seen him in person. I need to get his name down from Fox News. But, what he was saying is like, yeah, he's not wrong. There is a crisis going on here. And you act like every National Guard in the state is in DC. They're not. There's thousands of them. Stop that. And they're not all in DC. And they are trained to be security. Now, to his point, they are not trained in policing. But again, they are security. They are a deterrent for criminal activity. Because if a criminal sees the National Guard, they're less likely to commit the crime. But even if they try to engage, right, you've got police officers that aren't doing both jobs, right? So you have more concentrated efforts from your police department to arrest people. But again, here's my thing. Crime pays. It's paying people, because if it wasn't, we wouldn't have it. They always want to go after innocent people's guns. Oh my gosh, there's been a shooting. We have to get all the guns. Stop that. Why don't you get all the guns from the criminals? Okay, why don't you focus there? Not on law-abiding citizens. Why don't you get the criminals? Okay, why don't you make sure that the jobs that you're doing, because you're already spying on us. The Fourth Amendment it's a piece of paper. Because in the terms and conditions on our, wonderful devices, as we spoke about yesterday, yeah, we sign away our Fourth Amendment rights. So you're following everybody. You're tracking everyone. Like the CDC shooter, they knew that was going to happen, and they let it happen. Yeah, I'm going to say it. They let it happen because they want somebody to blame. They need a distraction from all the other nonsense that's going on. I demand security of the United States, and every governor and mayor, municipality, that's your job. That's your job to make sure that the citizens at the local level are safe. What is wrong with you? And if you're not doing that, you need to go. And Cajun lady said, they did let it happen. They did. Stop that. Look, well, I'm surprised they haven't brought out like that. What do they call them? The letters and all that stuff. That hasn't come out yet. They'll be like, oh yeah, the manifesto, right? Oh, there was this manifesto. Stop that. You watched this kid for months, probably years, with the posts and all these different things, right? And of course, because he's Caucasian, oh my goodness, let's just like tear everything down, because we got to say that, Caucasian people are crazy and off. Stop that. You could have shut this down before he did anything. You could have went, questioned him, sequestered, and said, hey, we need to make sure that this person isn't going to cause any harm. Do they have access to weapons? You could have shut this down. You pick and choose winners and losers. And the only losers right now are the citizens of this country, period. We're the losers. And we've got people in office that just take everything for granted. And it's horrible. And I'm grateful for the executive order that President Trump put in place. Yeah, I said it, and I'm going to stand 10 toes down on it. He's doing the job that you refuse to do. And now that he's doing the job, you want to complain if you don't stop. Mr. Westmore, your state is trash. Fix it. It's an abomination. Fix it. You've got a city in the top 5 of the worst cities to be in that are the most dangerous. Fix it. Yep, you were handed a whole trash heap. Fix it. And stop making excuses for it not being fixed. Let's go. All right. So now, yeah, it says Trump administration begins clearing homeless encampments in D.C. Now, we saw that in the video that Cash Jordan did with his coverage. And it says the Trump administration has begun to remove homeless encampments in D.C. after announcing a federal takeover of the city on Monday, which he can do, by the way. So I don't want anybody out there getting their panties in a bunch and be like, oh my gosh, he can't do that. Oh my goodness. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. He has every right to do it. And Marion Bowser had to admit it. And I actually have the video and played it on this show of where she admitted it. So it says sweeps began Wednesday and are expected to continue through the weekend. Sites are near a highway by the Lincoln Memorial and Kennedy Center have been cleared. Thank you, President Trump. With tents near Washington Circle Park expected to close Monday. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered additional mental health services. Refusals will be susceptible to fines or time or to jail time. So they're trying to help these people get the services they need so they're not homeless. You can't live like this. Now, here's my thing. Do they have campsites where people, will get trailers or whatever and they'll live in these campsites? Hey, do your thing, but you're going to have to pay to be there. You can't live in the park. You can't live on the sidewalk. You cannot live on the streets. If you want to live the camping life, I'm saying you can. And there are campsites for that. But you can't be homeless on the streets. You cannot be a vagrant. It is against the law. And here's the thing, because they have not enacted and enforced the law, it's like jaywalking, right? Has anybody seen anybody get a jaywalking ticket? It's very rare. It's very rare, but it can happen because it endangers not only the person jaywalking, but others around them, cars, pedestrians, what have you. Okay, it is an endangerment. So you can be cited for it. But citing someone, right, and actually saying, okay, you could go to jail behind this, 2 different things. And vagrancy is actually susceptible to jail time or a fine. But it hasn't been enforced because bad behavior has been allowed. It has not only been allowed, it's been coddled, right? And now it's given full birth to people who feel they have a right to break the law. That's where we're at. And this is what happens with sin. When you coddle sin for well too long, it gives birth, okay, to behaviors and people acting out in ways that you're like, what happened to this? Because we didn't shut it down. Because nobody said no. you cannot do this, or there's a consequence, and here's the consequence. That's what happened. So homelessness in DC, according to USA Facts, there are around 80 people per 10,000 residents considered homeless in the greater DC area, the second highest after Hawaii. In 2024, the District Department of Human Services, DHS, found homelessness was up 14% between 23 and 24, but down 30% from 2020. Since Trump signed the Making the District of Columbia Safe and Beautiful executive order in March, the U.S. Park Police have removed 70 encampments in the area. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if anybody's been to D.C. It's not that big. You know what I'm saying? It isn't. It is not that big. And so if there's homelessness going on, it's extremely noticeable. Okay. And I'm like, what? So this was happening. Okay. But it was down 30. That's the numbers are just kind of weird. Up 14% between 23 and 24, but down 30% from 2020. So they didn't have as many homeless people in 2020, and then it spiked. Okay. So this is how the media covered it. National Law Review, that leans right bias, emphasized homelessness rates in D.C. and the White House's goal to improve safety in America's capital. It cited D.C. Code 22-1307 and D.C. Municipal Regulation 24-100, which allow law enforcement to clear encampments and fix the homeless problem. So they already have a policy in place, again, not being enforced in the city. Several outlets on the left covered the impact on the homeless individuals, describing the situation as confusing and anxiety-inducing. Why are they always back on anxiety? My anxiety, oh my gosh. No, you know what? You didn't get a whooping growing up. Somebody missed something, okay? Because I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to do things that are uncivil in society. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be a good citizen. I want to be respectful of others, even if they don't care, even if they hate my guts. I still want to be respectful of others because I have respect for myself. Like, what happened to that? Like, really? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, y'all? The Washington Post, that leans left, cited concerns from homeless advocacy groups who argued that increased policing was not a long-term solution. But these are the people making money off of homelessness. You didn't solve anything. Why are you even here? Why do you have a job? Homelessness advocacy should not be a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? What are we doing? You should be like, yep, we don't have any homeless people anymore because we helped them all out. So we're just kind of, waiting for somebody else to be homeless. Like, that's where we should be at. We shouldn't be at, oh my goodness, what do you mean? They argued that the increased policing was not a long-term solution. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because you're not going to be on the street. You're either going to be arrested or you're going to have to get into a program. You got choices. And that's it. You're going to get a program, you're going to get your life together, and you're going to take care of yourself, or you're going to be in jail. Which I don't even like the jail part, right? Because we're still taking care of them with our tax dollars. So we need to get these people reintroduced in society, right? We need to get them on the right path and on the right track. And I think part of that would be to help other people get off the street. This is not sustainable. We are not going to have a whole generation and a whole community of hundreds of thousands of people living on the streets as vagrants. It's not a thing. It's not cool. It's not right. It's not going to be a thing. It's going to be over. And all of the monies, billions of dollars put into eradicating homelessness, and it's only grown. I want an audit. I want to see where the money's gone. Because obviously these people are still on the street. So they're not spending the money in the right places. Just saying. And CNN, that leans left, highlighted the influence of the COVID-19 pandemic on homelessness and its disproportionate impacts on marginalized communities. If y'all don't stop with all the buzzwords, did Chat GPT write that? Stop that. Really? You gonna blame the pandemic on homelessness? Stop that. Homelessness has been a problem prior to the pandemic. The pandemic just exasperated it because you allowed illegal people to cross our borders and come in mass. See, we're not going to talk about that part either because a lot of those people are homeless as well, getting resources to get off of the streets and given priority over people who've been in line for housing. It's a mess. I know I should be a lot more gentle on Friday because it's prayer with Fridays. But this is why we have to pray, especially for me, because I'm just, telling you, just, as you say, it grinds my gears just to see stuff done like this because, we live in such a wealth abundant country. But if you look at some of our cities, they look like third world countries that have just been obliterated by policy. By policy. And at this point, by design. Because, they will have people asking for a solution worse than the problem it solves. Now, with President Trump, a lot of what he's put in place is temporary, right? You can't have the National Guard forever, but he does want the National Guard there beyond 30 days. So there's more of an impact and a quicker route to clean up. But it's maintaining this afterwards, right? Because he's not going to be president forever. So whoever comes in after him is going to have to work with the mayor of DC, but whoever the mayor of DC is going to have to maintain the cleanup. You cannot let this just come right back again. And that's the part. It's like long term, what does this really look like? Because you have the initial cleanup, but long term, what does it look like? Long term, if somebody tries to be a vagrant and they try to pop up a tent in the park, I'm just saying, is there going to be immediate action? Or is there going to be people who try to protect that person putting up a tent in the park and saying, well, they're homeless, they need to be able to live somewhere. And then we're right back where we started. It's that part. It's that part that we need to make sure that this does not happen again. So I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll get into some more of All Sides. I'm hoping to have a guest on for Prayer with Friday. So I'm just waiting for them to log in. But thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And we'll be right back. And we'll see you on the other side.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles, and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bytes can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments, so it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source, because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question. Do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. So we were really just going over a lot of what President Trump is trying to do to clean up DC and also to, I should say, encourage other states and cities around the country to participate. So that executive order, it does extend beyond DC. I know a lot of people are like, no, it doesn't. It's like, yeah, it actually does if you read it, because it says it wants U.S. cities to enforce vagrancy laws. So that would be beyond DC. Just saying. And so I wanted to go over a few other articles in all sides as we wait for our guest. If our guest doesn't arrive, that's fine. I will go ahead and do the prayer, but I'm really hoping this person is able to join us because they're such an amazing prayer warrior. And I do enjoy seeing their prayers that they post on TikTok and also on X. But I wanted to look into this article about DeSantis. He's announcing opening a second Florida migrant detention center. Like, he is all about this. And I'm grateful for his participation, wanting to remove people from our country that are here illegally. And I know a lot of people are just like, everything's moving so fast. You got to realize the president really only has 3 years to really get stuff done. It's just 3 years. And that's not a lot of time in the scope of things. It's not like I should say senators, right? Senators, they get like 6 years in office. The president doesn't get that kind of time. It's just 3 years, right? Now, if they have back-to-back consecutive terms, you know what I'm saying? It does make it longer with that, but that's not what happened with Trump. And I'm kind of grateful that it didn't happen that way, only because it allowed him the time to understand more so how government operates, how it works, and how he can move a lot faster. And they're still trying to block a lot of his appointments, in Congress, just wanting to shut things down and, go on recess instead of putting his people in, and then will turn around and blame him. Well, he's not getting his people in fast enough. It's like, yeah, really? Really? Part of this is on you guys. They're a mess. They are a whole hot mess, but that's a whole nother conversation. So, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced plans on Thursday to open a second state-run immigration detention center dubbed Deportation Depot. Home Depot. From The Simpsons, Deportation Depot. We can do that instead of Dome Depot. The site will be able to hold over 1,300 people. Okay. So for the details, the new facility will be housed at Baker Correctional Institution in northern Florida, which previously closed in 2021. DeSantis estimated the second detention center would cost about $6 million, less than the $330 million Florida used to build its first detention center, Alligator Alcatraz. The Florida Division of Emergency Management, which is overseeing construction, said it could take 2 to 3 weeks to get the site operational. And basically because it was already in place, right? So it's a lot easier than having to build a structure from the ground up like they had to do with Alligator Alcatraz. But Alligator Alcatraz is a little bit different too, because they've got like a whole airport situation. So they can just fly people like we're literally right out, like get them, detain them, bag them and tag them, and they're out. They're done. It's very efficient. I think a lot more of these facilities, if it's feasible, right, should have, if they can do it, and access to an airport. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with my tax dollars going to this because at least people are being deported. They are being removed from the soil, but it's making sure that they stay off of our soil. Because a lot of these people are hardened criminals, and they're criminals on the onset. Like I've said before, the minute you cross the border illegally, you're a criminal. The minute you lied and said that you are seeking asylum or you're a refugee, you're definitely a criminal. Because then, you're trying to utilize a political status and a protected status that doesn't belong to you. And you're taking it away from somebody else that it actually does. So for context, in July, Florida opened the Alligator Alcatraz Immigrant Detention Center in the Florida Everglades. It has been criticized for reports of poor conditions, including flooding, no available water for bathing, and bug infestation. A judge temporarily blocked construction at the site on August 7th. You know what? I really don't care. I don't. There are poor conditions for us. You don't need to be here. Look, you act like you're supposed to go somewhere, and it's supposed to just be so nice and clean. And what if you don't get up off the soil? First of all, my tax dollars are paying for this. And you're upset about mosquito bites. You're in Florida. If you don't stop, you should have known that before you got there. Just a mess. So this is how the media covered it. So the Washington Times, that leans right bias, framed the center as DeSantis' way of helping President Trump achieve his deportation efforts and press for more cooperation with federal officials. It mentioned the placement of the prison 15 minutes from the airport made deportations quicker. Politico, that leans left, contextualized the news site within legal challenges against Alligator Alcatraz. It also hinted at possible future legal battles over both centers, quoting DeSantis, who called the current dispute a political thing. In Newsweek, that center led with the reduced cost of deportation depot and included Florida Division of Emergency Management, saying the prison might require unforeseen upgrades, including air conditioning installation. It also compared conditions at Alligator Alcatraz and the new site. Look, okay, first of all, prison is never great. All right. The detention centers are not there to be a place of, something wonderful. Now, a lot of people, but they're still human beings. Yeah, they're human beings that broke the law and shouldn't be here, period. And if you don't like it, leave and don't come back. How should I say it? It's not pretty for a reason. It's a deterrent. Now, I'm pretty sure that the conditions aren't super poor. I'm pretty sure, there's going to be some flooding because you're in Florida. Duh. It's a lot of water going on. And you said there's no water available for bathing. Stop that. There's water available. It might not be warm. I'm just saying, let's just talk about that. Bug infestation? Absolutely. You're in Florida. Again, you're in Florida where the humidity is king. Okay. And so are the mosquitoes. Let's just talk about that. And Dr. C says, okay, demanding amenities while being a criminal is wild. It's super wild. Super wild. It's like, I'm going to complain. Oh my goodness. You're not feeding me right. Did you get to eat? Yes, but I didn't like it. So what? So what? To quote Sierra's song, so what? So what? I'm just saying. Look, nobody said that crime, kind of pays. It only pays the politicians, right? Who aren't going to jail behind the nonsense that they're doing. Just saying. My goodness. My goodness. So, in other news, let's look at what's going on with Putin, right? So there's a Trump-Putin summit, and who has a strategic advantage? And here's the thing. He's been dealing with this since he got in. And the whole problem with Zelensky is he'll get Zelensky kind of like under control. Like, okay, cool. You're good. I've talked to you. Now let me go over here and talk to Putin. Then we can all get together, right? But then Zelensky wants to pop off and do something stupid. And I'm like, bro, you've already agreed to be still sit down and wait on President Trump, and you are still antagonizing Russia. What is wrong with you? I'm like, okay. So do we just leave Ukraine alone and be like, we're not gonna give you any more money because you don't want this resolved. You just want to be in the fight. And if you're gonna be in the fight, we're just gonna fight them. Fight Russia without our help. I'm just saying. Go ahead. Because that's what's gonna end up happening, and that's just my opinion. So questions loom over who holds a strategic advantage as President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to meet in Alaska on Friday. So that's today. So a writer from the New York Times Opinion Love Bias says between the bombastic social media posts, the shifting headlines, the erratic announcements, it's easy to overlook the fact that Trump's Russia policies are the same failed strategies employed by the Biden administration, the first Trump administration, and the Obama administration. The author asserts that in this way, Trump is no crazier than his predecessors, while adding that Trump's meeting with Putin gives the Russian leader a demonstration of his power, which is exactly what Putin wants. You know what? I don't think anybody wants to see their people dying. I don't think Putin wants to see people dying. And I really don't think Zelensky wants to see people dying. And I know Donald Trump doesn't want to see people dying because he talks about it all the time. It really comes back to, what are you guys even fighting over at this point? Did anybody remember? Because, I'm lost in the conversation. I'm like, what are y'all fighting over? Is it territory? Apparently Ukraine is supposed to be the breadbasket of the world. Why did that even happen? And why aren't we building, having our own, grain and wheat over here in the United States that's non-GMO? Like, just so many questions I have, like the reliance and dependence on these other countries. Putin was like, I don't want NATO encroaching on my border. Zelensky, leave NATO alone. You don't have to be involved in NATO. Leave them alone. And that's it. But then it was like, no, because then you're going to take over me. And then it's just been this constant fighting back and forth. It's just dumb. It's really just dumb at this point. And NC Sports News says, Grand Rising to you too. It says, thanks for speaking truth to power. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, this is just crazy. So Trump has the upper hand. Prolonged sieges and intense urban warfare led the Russian capture of the Donetsk region on Tuesday, but the move risked dangerously overstretching Putin's army and straining Russia's overheated economy. According to an opinion writer for the American Spectator, which is right, the writer says it's Putin who requested face-to-face discussions with Trump. And Trump's decision to meet on American soil shows his eagerness for the summit, saying Trump has Putin where he wants him, and it's not where Putin wants to be. The squeezing of Russia's war machine with stepped-up sanctions has clearly incentivized Putin to get sincere with Trump after ignoring his previous call for a ceasefire. Come on now. He's not meeting in Russia. He is meeting in Alaska. It's close to Russia, but it's not Russia. Just saying. So the cost of peace. Wars usually end in one of two ways: decisive victory or negotiated settlement. According to an opinion writer for American Thinker, which is right, Ukraine has no path to the first and rejected the second risk, drifting into something worse, a collapse without terms on Russia's timetable. The Alaska summit, according to the writer, is a warning to Ukraine to move toward a settlement grounded in realistic, attainable goals, not a war plan. The Telegraph, that leans right, suggested Trump is preparing to offer Putin access to rare earth minerals as an incentive to end the war. An opinion published by The Hill, which is center, asserts that negotiating land swaps with Putin should also include efforts to reclaim some of the Arctic islands now under Russian control. Yeah, and you know that Trump, he will come up with something that definitely ties into benefit America, because that's what he does. He makes deals. And Mark from the Soil, thank you for joining us this morning and reposting the stream. So, when it comes to matters like this, I hate us being involved, but we are, and it's been going on round and round. But I do see Zelensky really not wanting this to end. And that really goes back to NATO and what they're going to decide to do, because we're not going to be here for this long term. Because again, what are you fighting for? What are we doing? If Russia and America come to an agreement with this, Zelensky better come to the table and get this over with, period. And stop floundering. And he's not going to get reelected. And the only reason I think he's been trying to keep things the way they are is so he can postpone his elections. Just saying. Just saying. There's somebody else doing that same thing. His name is Netanyahu. He's doing the same thing. Just kind of keeping things going. Every time you turn around, like, yeah, things are settling down. Nope. Here we go again. We're doing something else. It's bad. It's bad. Hopefully it will get better. So there were some other things that I wanted to look at that were in relation more so to ICE detentions and raids. And this was something that was sent to me by Coach T. Thank you again, Coach T, if you are listening. And it is a ICE raid and deportation tracker. I didn't know we had one. So if you guys want to check it out and follow it, it is at deportationtracker.live. That is deportationtracker.live. And we can buy this person a coffee. There's a blog and all this other stuff. And what I like about it, I was like, oh, okay. Like this is, it's updated constantly. So let me just do a refresh. Because, all right, just making sure we're current. So it said estimated undocumented migrants is about 11,700,000. So that's estimated. That's what they actually are, what they think they know. And this was built by a student and kept online by you. This is Sam. He's a high school student who created deportationtracker.live to keep communities informed and aware. There's no team, no funding, no ads, just me updating the site daily so anyone can access alerts in real time. If you find it helpful, please consider donating. Even $1 helps keep this project free, independent, and online for everyone. So again, if you want to go to the site, buy him a coffee, or donate online to his efforts, let's help Sam keep this up and up to date. So right now we're looking at total deportations, 131,765. Daily deportations, 117. Total arrest are a little over 500,000. Daily arrest, 178. Total detentions, over 250,000. And daily detentions, over a little over 500. So immigration by region. So out of that 11 million estimated number, you've got about 4 million from Mexico, 2 million from Central America, 2.1 million, right? 1 million from the Caribbean, and 730,000 from South Africa. Now, those people may not be Caucasian. Just saying. They're not black either. They're from Africa or South America, sorry. I really thought this is South Africa. I was like, Lord. No, but South America. So you're looking at places like Honduras, Ecuador, I'm trying to think of any other South American countries, but those are the primary ones. Brazil. When I think of South America, those are the places I'm thinking about. I think Venezuela falls in that category as well with South America. And so here are the other regions. Remember, I kept telling you guys that, they keep trying to make the face of immigration people of Hispanic or Latin descent. And I was like, no, there's more people here from other countries. So you've got 1.7 million from Asia, 500,000 from Europe, 380,000 from Africa. Okay. 200,000 from Canada. What's Canada doing up in here? Wait a minute. I thought we were trash to Canada, right? What y'all doing here? Why don't y'all go back home? What? What are we doing? Go back to Canada, right? Since America's trash. Weird. 180,000 from the Middle East and 80,000 from Oceania. So arrest by area of responsibility. Okay. So, which I kind of like how he broke down just like the cities, because Atlanta is kind of a hot spot right now. So with Atlanta, you've got 12,764 criminal convictions. You've got immigration violators, right, of over 10,000, pending charges over 3,000. So that makes that a total of 27,000. So he takes the areas of responsibility: criminal conviction, immigration violation, and pending charges, and totals those up. So we've got a little under 30,000 just here in the city of Atlanta. Because you get some people, it's like funny. They go, oh, do you live in Atlanta? Like all of Georgia's Atlanta. It's not. Georgia's the state. Atlanta's just the city, but that's just the concentrated area of Atlanta. Now, Baltimore, right? We were talking about Baltimore a little earlier. So they've got criminal conviction, a little over 2,000, immigration violations, 33,489, and pending charges, 493. Now, to me, that's weird. Because how are you going to have immigration violators? And they definitely should have, pending charges. What are your policies in Baltimore? Is that whole catch and release thing? Are you not reporting these people to ICE? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a very disparaging number. When you see such a high number of immigration violators, the pending charges kind of should match up, right? They should match up with the numbers. Like down here in Denver, it's like you're going to have 12,000 immigration violators and only 692 pending charges. Like, where are the rest of these people? Really? What are we doing? Oh my goodness. In Chicago, of course, we know they're off the chain over there, but there should be more. You've only got 4,500 pending charges and you got 17,000 violations. Like, the math is not mathing, but these are the sanctuary policies in real time. Like, Dallas is very large, and I'm pretty sure, with them in their area, because technically Texas is a border state, right? It does border Mexico, so you're going to get that influx. But they've got 19,000 immigration violations and only 8,000 pending charges. Again, math isn't mathing. I'm so grateful for this young man putting this out here. And, obviously there's other states. You've got Los Angeles. Now, Los Angeles is ridiculous. How are you going to have 14,000 immigration violations and only 207 pending charges? Stop that. This number right here and this number right here should be here. And you know what I'm saying? That's the number that should be here. Whatever this is, like close, a little over 23,000. Like, that should be here. What? This 24,830 should be here. Then that way we would know that things are happening, that people are actually getting charges. This right here, here's your sanctuary city and policies right here. That means people are not actually being charged, but they have violations. That's what's happening. New York City, same thing. You got 25,000 violations and only 575 charges. What? Come on now. we need to do better. In Newark, New Jersey, here's another one. 24,000 immigration violations. I mean, okay, at least they're in the thousands. Okay? At least this is almost close to the, criminal conviction number. But these violations, they need to be here in the pending charges so they can be deported. Wow, this is just, I am so grateful for this young man putting this together, because this is an eye opener to anybody, really looking at this. And you can definitely, I think you can search if you wanted to search a city that you didn't see here. And maybe it might be in this queue, it might not, but I'm just grateful for him putting this together. And this is detentions by area of responsibility. Okay, so the first one was arrest by areas of responsibility. And this is detentions by areas of responsibility. So meaning people that are being detained, and that's pending. So you got 13,000 over here, immigration violations and the pending charges. Still not a high enough number, but I guess a little bit better than being in the hundreds. Chicago, still failing. You got criminal convictions, 10,000. Yeah, look, we can do better. Wow. Harlingen, I don't know where that is. Where is that? Oh my goodness. I'm like, what are y'all doing? What is going on? You've got over 100,000 violations and 6,000 pending charges, and you got 12,000. What? Wow. Okay, I've got to find out where this is. Harling. Come on, y'all. What is this? I'm sorry. Oh, that's in Texas. What are y'all doing? What is going on? Oh, y'all are tripping. How are you going to have 107,000 immigrants? Really? Oh, y'all are just a mess. Okay. Texas. Okay. They got Dallas beat. So apparently they just got a lot going on. On day 4 of Harlan Cotton. So they got a cotton mill fire going on. You got a crash that killed a pregnant 18-year-old woman that's under investigation. Okay, well, at least they got the school, I guess, is doing good, because it opens the school year with a $37.2 million fund balance. But wow, y'all are y'all are wild. So what are you known for? It's known for popular attractions, Jackson Street Markets, Iwo Jima Memorial Museum, Hugh Ramsey Nature Park, World Birding Center, and Harling Arroyo, Colorado. Okay, but that's what they're known for. Wow. Okay, eye opener. But like I said, that's a lot of violations to have for one city. And this is a city. It's not a state. It's not a county. It's actually a city. That's insane. Crazy. Some places I'm just kind of like, yeah, you see New York, what I'm saying, like, these are 107. Oh, Phoenix. Yeah, I could see it in Phoenix though, because Arizona is a border state. Right there. But 196,000 immigration violations and only 5,000 pending charges. So you've got almost 200,000 violators. Where are these people? Have they been deported? That's the bigger question. Are these people getting deported? And that's my thing. And so you've got a border infrastructure map. So this is where the border is being built, right? Where the little red down there. Yep, new border wall system, existing barrier. So there's really nothing going on here around the Rio Grande, which we need. And they were mad because I think they had Governor Abbott take out the barbed wire that he had in the water. I say put it back. Put it all back. Put it back. Barbed wire, whatever you need to do, fencing in the water, whatever you need to do to keep people safe. But yeah, we need to get that done. Definitely need to get that done. But yeah, so Again, he's got key resources, deportation statistics, ICE raid alerts, detention center locations, know your rights, legal resources. So with the whole ICE raids and ICE raid alerts, I don't know if he's gonna get in trouble for that. Um, because you could be thwarting federal agent, young man. Trying to say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna alert you to where ICE is coming." Don't get caught up in that. I appreciate what you're doing here to show what's going on, but to say, "See ICE activity," really? And you can report a new ICE raid. Yeah, so ICE raids near me. Live map and reports. Track recent ICE raids and immigration enforcement today. Our interactive map shows recent ICE raids near your location, including ICE raids reported today. Use our real-time ICE raid map to stay informed about immigration enforcement in your community and help others by reporting new activity. So this could be taken two kinds of ways, right? It could be taken as a way to let people know and alert people that are undocumented, right? Hey, this is what's going on in your area, or alert you as a citizen, right? Hey, this is going on in your area. Make sure you stay safe. One of two things could be going on and happening. So, yeah, you got to be real careful. Yeah, because you're reporting your IP address for monitoring security purposes. So if you were to go in and be like, "Hey, this is going on, be safe," whatever. If ICE wanted to come in and look at this information, which they totally could because you're reporting on them, and if you're trying to thwart their activity and interrupt their job, you actually could be in violation of federal law. Just putting it out there. Just trying to keep you safe. Because I like the fact that you're tracking this. I don't want to see you go to prison, but it could happen. And so here's all the little areas where things are happening. So they gave an address, they gave a time, can't confirm myself, 2 independent reports. Right? So this is what they're reporting in Minnesota. That's happening. It could be an ICE raid. Let's see. See if I can get closer to where I live, because I live here in Georgia. So we can look at Atlanta, and it says Publix at Bullsboro Drive in Noonan, Coweta County, which is about 45 minutes south of Atlanta. So that's not really in Atlanta. And the parking agents in the parking lot. So they're alerting people and telling them, okay, if you are here illegally and you're in this area, there are going to be agents in the parking lot. So yeah, so this is definitely about alerting people as well to see ICE activity. So again, this could be monitored by the federal government, and they should be able to throw you in jail, my opinion, for trying to thwart their activities. It says documented ICE's enforcement tactics. Our real-time tracking system documents ICE's deceptive and aggressive enforcement tactics around the United States, while other static databases may show historical patterns. Our live community reporting platform captures enforcement operations as they happen today. Each pin on our map represents a verified ICE raid or enforcement action with detailed information about the tactics employed in your area, including agents falsely identifying themselves as local police, warrantless home entries and searches, workplace surveillance and mass arrest operations, targeting of sensitive locations like schools and churches, digital surveillance and social media monitoring, community checkpoint operations near essential services. So by reporting enforcement activities in real time, we provide immediate, actionable information that helps communities respond to raids happening right now while creating accountability through documentation of ICE's current practices. Now, for me, after reading this, I got to report you to ICE. Even though I like the fact that you are tracking, right, the numbers as we can see them, for violations and arrests and all that. I like that part. I'm not saying I don't. I like the data dump and seeing, what arrests are happening. But this, trying to actually thwart the job of a federal agency, no, you got to go to prison for that. Sorry. You got to go to jail. I got to report it, y'all. So I'll make sure that that is done today to do my civil duty on a Friday. Right? Because we cannot go along with illegal activity and expect for things to go well for us. It's not going to be a thing. But unfortunately, my guest is not here. But that means I get to pray, right? I get to pray that Thanksgiving and cover going into the weekend. And I'm so grateful. This week it's been a little challenging, but I think it's going to get better. We're in August. We've got a lot going on. The president, he is the bull in the china shop. He is moving, like a Mack truck on 90, going downhill, all gas, no brake. Okay. He's getting it done, even if people don't like it. We've got individuals out here attacking, the CBP, which is funny, attacking border protection. What is wrong with you? And we've got, mayors and governors and other civil servants out here attacking Donald Trump, thinking that, Trump man bad is going to get them elected or make them look better. And it doesn't. We all just need to work together to have a better America. So with that, I'm definitely going to pray, and then that'll be our show for this week. So God, thank you so much for just everything that you're doing, everything that you're going to do. We are so grateful for the country that you've given us, for the freedom that you've given us, not to squander it, but to really hold it precious and to know that we need to be responsible with that freedom. We need to care about our freedom, and we don't need to take our freedoms for granted, Father. For all those who are misguided, for all of those who unfortunately love evil and they don't want to see good being done, we definitely pray for their hearts and their minds. Father, we pray for cover going into the weekend. We pray for safe travels for anybody that's traveling. We definitely pray for our leaders that are in positions of authority, that they do the right things with what they're doing. We definitely pray for President Trump today with his meeting with Vladimir Putin. And we also pray for Zelensky, that they can all come to a resolution and that they can come to a peace between everything that is happening at the Russian border. We also pray for the people in Gaza. We pray for the people in Israel and those different parts in the Middle East, Father, that you will bring peace to their region, Father, and especially here at home in the United States. We're praying for that cover, for that blessing, God, that you hear the voices of the lost, that you hear the voices of the weary, and pray that you give them the strength to not grow weary in doing good, because sometimes it can feel like a burden when you're doing everything that's right and everybody is kind of putting you down or making you feel like you're the one doing wrong when all you're doing is trying to do right by others and do the best you can to make others' lives better. So we pray all these things in your son's precious Jesus, in your son Jesus' precious name. Amen. So guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News for this Prayer With Friday. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Monday. Have a great one. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you soon.